they always show the classroom where teacher go like, "Hey, Johnny, how are you doing?" That like, Robin Williams kind of type of thing. So today we'd like to explore those two areas. First, I'd like to begin with the left column, lesson design. Then after that, we're going to be talking about classroom experience, how we can engage students in classroom. And so these two big components we'd like to explore. Excitement, look at those students. They're engaged, they're talking, smiling, eyes wide open, teachers in the middle. And uh, they're talking about misogyny. Oh, that's a really difficult topic that they are tackling in classroom. So when we think about lesson design and engagement, I'd like to ask you to think about the moment that you are engaged in an activity. So engaged that, in activity that time passes, time flies, and you loses time, and you really, your mind and your heart is into the learning. Have you ever had that moment recently? For me, it's e-bike. I bought an e-bike, just like thousands of Americans out there, right? Did the same thing. So I did that. Yes, I'm that one of those people. And if you know me, I am so far from cyclists. I used to make fun of them. Why? You have a car. Hello, why bicycle, right? But then I realized one day, next door neighbor asked me to ride his, e-bike, and then I just fell in love with it. It's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm so powerful. I'm so good. It's a false idea, really. Like, you think you're better than you really are, but that's the kind of support I needed. So I bought a bike that was not cheap. I cannot even bring up myself to say how much it cost. But anyway, and then I got hooked. I fell in love with it. And I realized myself that really more and more I'm becoming more interested in the e-bike and cycling and the culture, and just in a short time. And I reflected on that, and I realized so there's some important components that we can learn from when we're about to begin our lesson design. Number one, there is a clear, compelling purpose. My purpose was to get healthy, spend more time with my partner. And then goal, I am going to sign up for A's Right for next year, June. Oh my God, a year from today, now, it's like I'm so nervous, but that's my goal. As a matter of fact, they always pass in front of my house. I always wondering, wow, these guys are amazing. But now I think I can do it. So the goal is there. And also along the way, I had to learn new terms like cadence or new techniques or the parts of the bikes that I never knew. And I learned how to change tires. So those those components that I had to learn. And I couldn't do it alone. There are moments that I didn't want to go riding, or I get discouraged. I fell on the bike. There are friends there, and also one of my friends is a avid cyclist who gives me advice and tips and whatnot. So support was always there and available. And I had this place called Strava, like a social media type of thing, right? If you're a runner and you can post it to get kudos from my friends, and so show off my accomplishment was really important. So those 5 components really, really the essence of our when we begin our journey of designing engaging lesson. Please take this time, if you have the note maker open, and you can take notes in there as well. And those 5 elements, I hope you can agree with me. And it is transferable to what we do, which is lesson design. Lesson design components also has essential questions that drive our learning, the purposeful, and goals that are clear to our students and to ourselves and attainable. And also essential language skills. What are the things that I have to know? I have to learn. What are the skills I have to gain? Those skills and knowledge are clearly communicated with our students. When I say essential, underline essential, because there's so many knowledge and skills we want our students to gain. But what are other real essentials, especially COVID time and this remote learning? We may have to be brave, take a courage to say, that was nice to know, but I have to let that go. I really have to hone into essentials. And I know some of you have seen Marie Kondo, Japanese interior designer guru person. Her mantra is like, look at the item and see, does it spark joy? It doesn't. You have to go say, thank you so much. You served your purpose, but bye. So the moments that when we created that lesson, we really have to hone in instead of going far and thin, but narrow and focused. And that is the first really important step. And then place to celebrate students' accomplishment. So they can do the project, they can do the task, but just for you, why not celebrate with other folks and community members and so forth. So I would like to share some actual examples that I collected from Jeff's classes later. So this is a lesson that I created. It's called Lesson for Under Pressure. So health unit, to make it more real and urgent to our students, we try to explore the area of pressure and stress and pressure, how that impacts our life and so forth. You do have access to this lesson organizer and lesson plan at bit.ly/stress lesson sample, case sensitive. If you have another computer open, or you can go ahead, access to it. Okay. So here, this is the lesson organization part, not even lesson planning. It's the beginning of the lesson planning. So organizing, what do we want our students to do with the knowledge and skills they gain? So there would be 2 times for you to chat with each other. So please go ahead, open your chat box and respond to this question. What are some ways we can establish a compelling learning purpose with our students? Okay, you have 48 seconds to share your ideas. Please go ahead, open your chat box and share your wonderful ideas. Thank you. Understand our why. Yes, that's so important, isn't it? We oftentimes don't spend enough time to really convey the why. Relate to current events. Love that. Meaningful. Yes. Engaging hook. Draw students' attention to relevance. Relevance. Yes. Some of us might say, but that's good enough, but textbook has old news. Yes, every single textbook has old news, but it is our job to make the connection to old news to, hey, how is that connected to the current event? It's a little more steps that really engage our students. Current, relevant, connecting to personal experience, I love it. As a teachers, we're passionate about topics. We should be passionate about topics. When we talk about certain topics, our eyes wide open, and then students might look like this, but don't be fooled by their faces. It's their faces. So if they look like they're not really impressed, but they are inside, they're impressed. So bring your passion out and talk more about the topics. Awesome. Thank you so much. Awesome ideas. So we spent about 5 minutes or so talking about how the why is important, and clear goals are so important when we start designing a lesson. And how can we make content relevant? That many of you mentioned about relevant topic, current topic. How can we make it even more relevant to our students? So good news and bad news is the world provides us with plenty of challenges. So we never go out of topics that we can talk about. And one area that I use is sustainable development goals. How many of you seen it? Can I see your hands? Probably seen it somewhere. This has been around for a while, and the United Nations established the Sustainable Development Goals. If you look at it, there are important topics that we should be talking about with our students. As you know from your experience, you can agree with, when we talk about any of those issues, the students have an opinion about it, and students have experience about it. So yet, sometimes it prevents us. We're scared of talking about things. At least I was very scared of talking about those topics because I didn't want to make my students feel uncomfortable, and I didn't have the answer. I avoided for many years. I stayed talking about classroom object or, my family, like a safe zone. I didn't make the shift from safe zone to brave zone. We often talk about safe space, but we don't talk about brave space. We talk about difficult issues. So I will share some of the actual samples in a minute. But I think this chart provides us with great ideas. So I highly encourage you to explore, look up United Nations Sustainable Goals. Sometimes lessons are made as well for us. So look into it. As you can see, these are word problems. So it's not a science teacher's areas or math areas, but this is a neutral, content general, real life issues that could engage our students. So now, many of you mentioned all those things already. So when we pick a topic, when I say picking a topic, selecting a topic is so crucial. Instead of talking about mundane topic or not relevant topic, and if we have that kind of topic, we ended up doing more work. Meaning, in other words, I noticed myself doing more dancing and singing to engage them. Instead of, here's a great, interesting, urgent topic, and let that topic talk to them. It's really powerful to have a topic, and then it is important for us to make that importance, communicate the importance with our students. So we don't have to do the dance. We don't have to do that singing much. Now that's bad, but hey, I'm 51, I'm tired. I can't do that anymore. Is it age appropriate, meaningful, and so forth? And the rigor is there. Is there rigor? Okay. I'm going to move on. And in the case of Japanese curriculum map, you see those topics like, how are you? Let's eat, restaurant. But please notice the topics in the parentheses. Food consumptions, depopulation, consumerism, immigration issues, child poverty. Those are the issues that I traditionally avoided, that textbooks don't cover. But these are topics that are real. And I remember I was teaching a town unit. And I had a student teacher, Michelle Lupisan. She was my student teacher at that time. She and I thought about town unit where I used to teach how to navigate through Japanese town, memorize landmarks, whatnot. And at the end, create your dream town and present it in Japanese, which is fine. People loved it. It's great, safe. But this particular year, we decided to go explore the challenges Japanese towns are facing. We made a list of many challenges. For instance, Japanese towns are not really friendly to people with disabilities. And also small towns are disappearing because aging population, young people move out. And also found out that there's a child poverty issues happening in Japan that I can think about when I left Japan 25 years ago. So those issues, by bringing it, students were engaged. And at the end, I still remember one student commented that, I feel so much closer to Japanese people now. I was working so hard to paint the picture of perfect Japan, nice Japan. Please come to Japan, like a Japanese, like a tourist advertisement. But instead, talk about real stuff. So let them communicate, connect to that. So what are some social topics that you deeply? Before we put ourselves in students' shoes, it's important for us to take time to think about what matters to us as teachers. So please open the chat box. I want to hear what you care. Lifelong hunger, yes. Universal healthcare, yes. It's huge. In Japan, my dad was in the hospital for 3 months and the charge came, it was $500. So let's talk about that. Raising taxes is a bad thing for that? I don't know. Once again, we don't have the answer. We don't have to, but explore those topics. Presidential election and critical thinking, yes, housing. You see, we will never go out of topics. Mental health awareness, pollution, those are so important. Why is it important? If it's important to you, students will pick up. We sign up for teaching because we do care about our future and our students. And if we don't talk about what we care, I don't know. I'm sure we can find a place to do it. But my curriculum doesn't allow it. You know what? I bet there is a way to address it. Let's talk about those important issues. So at the end of the day, how can we tell the students actually gain the knowledge and skills that we planned for them to achieve? After we set the goal, the purpose, and students have to take an action, provide an opportunity for students to take an action so that their learning was relevant. Their learning has some impact in their life and in society around them. This during COVID time, COVID didn't stop us, our learning. And students engage themselves in a project. And this particular student from Gabriel from Salinas High School, he decided to create a children's book. His purpose was to kind of comfort and also cheer up children in the US as well in Japan during the COVID time. And he was an artist. He used his artistic ability to draw those pictures, you see it in front, and created a story in Japanese and English and published it online using this particular website. And then recorded his voice narration so people could hear it. So that's something that he was driven to do, and he learned the language, he learned about COVID, and he also learned about how Japanese government is tackling with COVID. There was a huge differences how our government, US government is approaching this issue, and Japan is approaching this issue. So, and sharing creating a project is one thing. The driven students will do that, right? But we still have to think about a place, provide students a place to share their hard work. We had an event, we call it Celebration of Learning Events. 500 people participated in this event from the community and all around the world, and students shared their projects with the audience and YouTube live. And that event was fantastic because students were able to share their work, and the community members benefit from it. And these are the kind of some of the feedback the students gave us. And I'm gonna ask Patricia Vargas, please unmute yourself. Please read the first feedback, please.
I was having doubts about how it would turn out, and I doubt myself a lot. But doing this project kind of helped me realize that I can make things work out if I really put my mind to it.
Thank you. Kieran, could you unmute yourself and read the second one, please?
Sure. I'm glad that I could create even a little impact towards this.
You got cut off a little bit. Sorry about that. So to underline that part, I'm glad that I could create even a little impact towards this pandemic. So can you imagine what that does to students? To feel like he made an impact, small impact on some other, students in Japan and children in the US. So you can see other wonderful projects that go to bit.ly/Japanese Impact Project. Now we talked about the lesson design part, but lesson design is fine, but what does it look like in the lesson flow? I want to see the lesson flow. Let's talk about that a little bit. Okay. So so we set the purpose and set a goal, and that's good, but that's not good enough. How do we get there? There are lesson framework and models out there, right? I know science folks, you have EASE, and familiar with the GER, graduate release of responsibility, and 5-step plan, and those people who, many of us got credential and before 80s, 90s, we are used to using Into 3 Beyond. Basically, they are all similar, but different lens. So this lens that I'd like to share today is the global competence model. Global competence model that originally came from global studies field, but this is generic, so you can adapt in science class or in Japanese class. Students investigate the world first in the lesson, and then they will recognize perspectives. Students recognize their own and others' perspectives through activities and tasks. Then, with this knowledge, students communicate ideas with others in group, and pairs, or people in the community. And lastly, with this knowledge and they gain from the reading and listening and from the conversation, they take an action with the knowledge. For instance, Japanese poverty issues unit students created a public service announcement to bring awareness of child poverty and some possible solutions for it using public service announcement. So taking action is important too. So bit.ly stress lesson plan, you can see the second piece, you can see the lesson flow activities. That's what I would like to talk about today's topic about engaging tasks. So I know there's a lot, but you can take time later, but I'd like to just to highlight some of the activities. What does investigate the world look like? The parts in the middle, task characteristics, were really helpful when I brainstormed the tasks. You see the key task on the right. This is what we understand about stress and its effect. Like you all know KWL chart. But what we really need to know about just using a KWL chart, that's a piece of cake, everyone knows. But why that's effective? Many research, I attended Doug Fisher's session the other day, and he pointed out how powerful that is for students to know what they know and what they don't know. I repeat one more time. As many research show that the power in it, the students and teachers to know what they know or what they don't know at the beginning. That can be a drive and that can be assessment. And so we don't want to, oh, that's KWL, that's nice for elementary school, but no. I think high school too. Some sort, if it's not KWL, but some form to communicate to students what they don't know, what they do know from there. And then, as you can see, identify the top stressor for Japanese teenagers from infograph, they gain information, and read online posts made by Japanese teenagers to identify what their cause of stress is. As you can see at the beginning, you see lots of read and view and understand and show, identify. That is because they are gaining the information from the new information. In this case, Japanese, the information that come from Japan. Key tasks require feedback. There are several activities that I might do in between, but I may give feedback for those things, but like key tasks require some form of feedback. And then next, recognize perspectives. I love this part. So they learn about it, but keep an open mind. And I think a personal perspective and influences, examine the perspectives and influence of others. I love the best part. My favorite part is the bottom one, empathize with others. So with that information, how can we provide the tasks that kind of hit those points, important points? And also here, with this knowledge, new knowledge, they have to communicate with others. For example, in pairs, share what is stressing them out and give each other words of encouragement. So, and I attached a video, you can see it later. So you can see this is the class from Mio Nishimura from Asan High School. I think level 3, earlier Japanese class. They were kind of talking about health. So look into that later. And after the discussion, oops, this one, okay. And then here, take action, that's important. That's a very important part, right? Read online posts of Japanese teenagers experiencing stress and send a response in which they empathize with the students. I'll show you the actual sample. What you're looking at here is an actual web in Japan. Actual students in Japan are posting their concerns and stress and then asking for advice for people. So that's the top, right? I'm a freshman at high school. I'm so stressed about entrance exam. I cannot stop crying. Is there anything? Can you help me? And look at the bottom one right here. All these came from our students from Salinas High School. Isn't that kind of creepy to receive a bunch of messages from foreign country all of a sudden? You know what I think? I think this scare, I think replaced her original concern. Maybe she has a different scare now. I mean, all of a sudden, all Americans like responding to her concerns. So why is that important? Because this is the real life stuff. And they are impacting, helping others. Isn't that awesome? So, and then lastly, we have student samples. I'm gonna skip because of the time. And if you have time, please look at the video message they created, Japanese teenagers, our students created for Japanese students, okay? The last one though, I don't wanna skip this one. Reflect on our own learning. Sometimes because we cover so much, we kind of skip some things, but this is really important, reflecting on our learning. Now pay attention, the word I use, I didn't say evaluate our learning, but reflect on our learning. It's a totally different. Yes, it's a rubric, but I've been using this rubric called a single point rubric. And it looks a little bit different from what we're used to, right? Many of us are used to using a rubric, yes. Rubric usually grids in each section, has a description of what that success model looks like. And it is good, it's powerful, so because it will tell us what we can do to move the column to more proficiency, higher proficiency. The beauty of this single point rubric is that right in the middle, you have a criteria, expected criteria, 1 to 5 scale. Student and teacher sit together and go over, talk about social impact. Hey, Stephanie, what do you think? Your project, do you think it was project you shared had an audience and had an impact? What do you think that what impact was? And tell me why you think that. So you engage students in the conversation, and the fill in the blank grow section. What do you have to do? What do you like to do next time? And glow what you did well. Let's point that. And you agreed on the grade level with that student. You might think, I have 150 students. Yo, I cannot do this. Hold on. And you may not want to do it, maybe if it's not every single time, but like, every other project and sit down. But the power is this conversation, eye to eye, talking about it. And at the end, see the reflection and next step, students type that in. That is the most powerful piece that you hear from your students. So that's one tool that perhaps you might consider using. So let's move on. We talked about lesson design. What about lesson delivery? Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, in next 10 minutes, 8 minutes. Okay, so safe space and brave space, I talked about that, and clear instruction. And those are the things that really important when we think about a student's engagement. But what about distance learning? All of those things are great face-to-face, but like, what about distance? Japanese group, and we met and decided to keep things simpler, meaning just a Google Doc, a HyperDoc as the core, and Google Classroom as a core. We may use few apps here and there, but right now we are so bombarded with different apps out there, and I feel like overwhelmed. I just want to ground myself and spend some time thinking about the tasks before apps. After tasks established, tasks should be precise, concise, directly related to the final outcome, summative assessment. Nice to have are all gone. Must have essentials. After I write it down, then think about, can I do this with this app? What apps will allow me to do it? And so forth. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about teacher credibility. I mean, if you forget everything that I talked about, lesson design and lesson delivery part, all you have to remember today is the teacher credibility. We've been talking about engagement and without seeing the picture of our students in front of us, but I'm gonna have you look at this slide that I borrowed from Doug Fisher's session. The right hand side talks about engagement, what that look like. We all know students who do the work, participate, pay attention, respond to questions. In the middle part is more passive students. Left side and the right extreme way is active, actively driving, learning, engaged, being actively disrupting. So this chart really tells us about this engagement and the spectrum in this way. And the research shows that John Hattie's research we all know about at teacher credibility, guess what? It's 1.09, off the chart. There's so much impact that that we can make in the students. What does that mean, teacher credibility? I'm not credible. I have a credential, I have a scary face. So why don't I have a am I credible? So let's talk about credibility. Trust and dynamism and competence and immediacy. That's what Doug Fisher talked about. Trust, of course. If there's no trust, nothing builds on. Trust, it can be like this. Maybe you like to have a one-on-one conversation with a new student, spend 5-10 minutes talking about it and keep the confidentiality. And some days we have to be vulnerable about our mistakes we make, upfront about it, you're doing your best. And dynamism is something that's really, you have to bring more, especially remote. Doug Fisher mentioned this. In a classroom, there's something you do, but like you did, like you show your passion through your words and action. But remote setting through camera, you really have to do it mindfully using hand gesture and varying your voice, because that's how much it will take to communicate with the audience, the other side of the camera. Competence comes from the lesson planning. If we spend enough time and we know our stuff, we become competent. We know what we're doing. Many times we're trying to apply new ideas and new apps all the time. Actually, that will distract our students. many research show that if teacher keep changing the routine over and over so many times, students lose confidence in the teacher. So that appears to be, oh, teachers don't know what he or she's doing. So if doesn't mean that you cannot change anything, no, but when we change, perhaps we want to communicate that to students. And perhaps next couple of days, you have to think about honing in your routine. This is what I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this students, I'm going to train them. They know exactly what to do. So that is a routine that we would like to think about, establish. So now we are coming, school is opening. No, well, not opening, you know what I mean? Like we're going back to school remotely. The next couple of days, perhaps this is our time to sit, take some moment to think about our why, going back to the grounding place before we search for apps. And then think about resources. What do I have? And what can I do? How can I engage our students day one, first week, 2 weeks? How can I build a rapport our students? And Stephanie, can I ask you to read, unmute yourself to read this one, please?
Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success.
And we're not alone. We may feel like we're alone sometimes, but we're not alone. Look at this, 50 of us, we're here today. And we have PLC. And with PLC, these are Japanese teachers all together and get together. And really, we cannot do this alone. And our power is much stronger when we do work together. So that was the my session. And it is 3:13. I only have a few minutes for Q&A. And please, if you have a burning questions or comments, and I'd like to give you this time, 2 more minutes. So yeah, anyone? Oh, don't be shy now. Did I see your hand? Matthew, did I see your hand? No? Okay. All right. If not, I hope you find. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Who's that?
This is Nat. Thank you.
Hi.
Would you mind going back to that screen that showed the chart of student engagement? Maybe we have access to this presentation, but
Yes.
I wanted to just capture the last few things. Yeah, that one. And by the way, do we have access to this fantastic slideshow?
Yes, you'll be getting the slides and documents and so forth. Yeah, I think you already, I put in a bit.ly so you access to the documents already. But yeah, so yes, you will get access to it. Okay. Thank you, Nelly. Good to hear you. Okay, one more person. Window of opportunity is closing. Any comments, question? Window. Windows closing. Okay, closed. Okay. Well, 3:15. Thank you so much for sticking around, and good to see your faces. And I wish all of you, good luck, and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Now cocktail hour starts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Click. Oh, where'd it go? Is a link to presentation.